Inherited disorders. Inherited disorders. Errors in transcription and translation could lead to mutations. These mutations may be passed on to offspring. Genetic disorders can exist in every type of plant and animal. There are thousands of genetic disorders in humans alone. Some of these disorders are inherited as dominant or recessive traits controlled by a single gene. All of these disorders show simple inheritance patterns just like the traits in Mendel's pea plants. Recessive disorders. Many genetic disorders are inherited in a recessive manner. Recessively inherited disorders show up only in individuals who are homozygous for the allele. Carriers are heterozygous individuals who carry the recessive allele but are phenotypically normal. Recessively inherited disorders. These recessively inherited disorders range in severity from relatively mild to life-threatening. An example of a recessive disorder that is relatively mild is albinism, in which there is a lack of pigmentation in the skin. An example of a life-threatening disorder is cystic fibrosis, or CF, which involves excessive secretion of a very thick mucus from the lungs, pancreas, and other organs. Because of the mucus, it is very hard to breathe, and it also allows germs to thrive in affected organs, which could lead to respiratory failure and liver disease. Life expectancy for people with CF is 41 years. Due to medicine and treatments, this has increased from 60 years ago when children with CF did not live past 5 years old. Using Mendel's laws, we can predict the percentage of affected children likely to result from parents that are each a carrier for a disease. So for example, if we cross a big A little a and a big A little a, there is a 1 out of 4 chance that the individuals will be affected by the disease, and a 2 out of 4 or 1 out of 2 chance, 50-50 chance, that the individuals will be carriers, and a 1 out of 4 chance that the individual will be normal. Genotypic and phenotypic ratios. Genotypically, 1 out of 4 of the offspring will have the chance of exhibiting the particular disorder. 1 out of 2 of the offspring will be carriers for the trait, while 1 out of 4 will be normal, a ratio of 1 to 2 to 1. Phenotypically, there is a 3 out of 4 or 75% chance that a child will not exhibit the disorder, a ratio of 3 to 1. Remember, this is the chance for each baby. This does not mean for all the children in the family. So if this family decides to have 4 children, it's unlikely that you'll see 1 normal, 2 carriers, and 1 affected. What's likely to happen is for each baby, it's a 25% chance that they will be affected, 50% chance that they'll be a carrier, and a 25% chance that they will be normal. Inbreeding. Matings between relatives can increase the probability of the appearance of a genetic disease. Such matings are called consanguineous matings, inbreeding. Con means with, sangue means blood, and us means pertaining to. An example of a recessively inherited disorder, the Fugates of Kentucky. Methemoglobinemia is a recessive disorder characterized by the presence of higher than normal level of a chemical that blocks the oxygen absorption into the blood. So we're blocking that oxygen absorption into the blood, and as a result, this causes the tissues to turn blue. So the blood is a darker red and more blue light is scattered from the blood vessels through the skin. The Fugates of Hazard, Kentucky, were a group of people who carried the gene for this recessive disorder. Additionally, they had numerous consanguineous marriages, resulting in many of the children who were tinted blue. So because there was this inbreeding, the recessive disorder was more common and therefore a higher likelihood that the children would actually come out blue. Other examples of recessive disorders. Phenylketonuria, or PKU, is the accumulation of the amino acid phenylalanine in blood, which can lead to developmental and/or intellectual disabilities. Sickle cell disease is abnormal hemoglobin that leads to abnormally shaped red blood cells. This can damage many tissues. And Tay-Sachs disease is accumulation of lipid, or fat, in brain cells leading to developmental and/or intellectual disabilities, blindness, and death in early childhood. Dominant disorders. Some human disorders are due to dominant alleles. One example is achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism that is lethal when homozygous for the dominant allele. Huntington's disease. Huntington's disease is a dominant degenerative disease of the nervous system. The disease has no obvious phenotypic effects until about 35 to 40 years of age. This is beneficial for the genes, as by that point, most people with the disease will have unknowingly passed the genes on to their offspring. But it is not beneficial for the person who has it, or for the human population. People with the disease can pass it on to their children before they even know they have it. Sex determination. In humans and other animals, as well as some plants, there is a chromosomal basis of sex determination. An organism's sex is an inherited phenotypic character determined by the presence or absence of certain chromosomes. There are two chromosomal sex determination systems, XY and ZW. In the case of these Drosophila flies, the female, on the left, has two X chromosomes, and the male, on the right, just has one X chromosome and one Y chromosome. So this Y chromosome is what makes the male different from the female. Sex-linked genes. The sex chromosomes have genes for many characteristics unrelated to sex. A gene located on either sex chromosome is called a sex-linked gene. Sex-linked genes follow specific patterns of inheritance. Many sex-linked disorders are located on the X chromosome. Typically, these disorders are inherited through the mother, as she gives an X chromosome to any child she has. Sex-linked disorders show up in males more often than females because they only have one copy of an X chromosome. They don't have another copy that would have a dominant allele to counteract the disorder. X-linked disorders. Some disorders caused by recessive alleles on X chromosomes in humans include color blindness, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, hemophilia, and male pattern baldness. Because males only have one X chromosome, these conditions are much more common in the males than in the females. And when we write these alleles out, what we do is we write the sex chromosome, X or Y, and the allele for the sex-linked gene we put up there as a superscript. So in the case of the female, we have X big H and X little h. In this case, it's for hemophilia, so little h is the allele for the hemophilia gene.